that I took up cat sailing is that years ago I was racing cars, sports car racing, and in catamarans I found the same element of danger, exhilaration and the sensation of speed. And I think the main thing, the most important thing, is the preparation of the boat, having sufficient time to rig, to make sure that you've got the right adjustments, right tensions on your rigging. Also, every race is different. You've got different conditions, different wind strengths, different tactics. The most important race in my club season would be the Botany Bay Cat Club, which is open to every type of sailing boat. By Cock of the Bay, it means that the winner of this event is actually the fastest sailing boat on Botany Bay. In my mind, anybody considering sailing catamarans, there are only a few classes to consider. These would be Quick Cat, Arrow, Arrowfura, Australis and Tornado. My choice of catamaran is the Tornado, which I have sailed for 2 seasons in the Botany Bay Cat Club, and I have won the Cock of the Bay 2 years in succession with this boat. Before the start of the race, I suppose you do get nervous to a certain extent, wondering whether you're going to jump the start and have to restart. Also, you can collide with other boats and end up out of the race before you even start. But after the start, once you're away, this nervousness completely disappears and you really get down to racing.
The feeling of going to a starting line with a group of other boats that are all better than you, or you think they are, with a group of other men that are all better than you, so you suspect, or so they lead you to believe, is far from being joyful. It's a kind of a release of aggression, I think.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1...
For the fun of it, also for the competition. I think if I didn't race my boat, I would certainly lose interest in sailing. There is the thought and time involved in tuning your boat. Sometimes it's frustrating, other times it's rewarding. Trying to get that extra bit of speed necessary to keep winning races from week to week. The other skippers of these boats are doing exactly the same thing. So the challenge is there. You've just got to keep trying new ideas. If they don't work, you scrap them, and you've just got to keep going. get the impression that you're cold, you experience cold while you're racing, but the only time that I've ever been cold is after the race on the beach. I think the reason for this is when you're actually racing, you're so involved, you're concentrating all the time, and you just don't think of being cold.
Welcome to our overseas visitors from New Zealand and to the Darwin boys, great supporters of Cat Week. Welcome also to the Queenslanders, New South Welshmen, Adelaide Lads, West Aussies and Taswegians. Welcome to the local lads from country areas in Victoria and also from the big city. We hope you will have a fabulous time and a memorable Cat Week. Before the start of the first class, the course flag will be displayed from the committee vessel and may be accompanied by the firing of a gun. 2 minutes before the start of the first class or group, code flag P will be displayed from the committee vessel, together with the class or group flag, and may be accompanied by the firing of a gun. At the start of the first class, code flag P will be lowered and may be accompanied by the firing of a gun. 1 minute after the start of the previous class or group, code flag P, together with a class or group flag of the next class to start, will be displayed from the committee vessel and may be accompanied by the firing of a begun.
That guy.
I can remember my very first sail aboard the 12-foot catamaran. There was never any question in my mind then what type of small boat I wanted. After pushing off Waikiki Beach one day with Woody Brown, who designed and built a 40-foot catamaran, there was never any question in my mind as to what type of big yacht I would want. Since we planned to cruise extensively across the ocean, paints and maintenance materials would not be available. So we chose a material such as fiberglass, which requires maintenance, but a minimum of maintenance compared with, say, steel, aluminium, or timber. Also, there was a question of practicality, which was going to be the most difficult material to use. Well, you can see the shape of the boat is a complete mass of curves.
We found that in Australia there's a lot of adverse publicity for multi-hulls because of a few isolated incidents, emergencies, even loss of life in the Tasman Sea. In any developing sport or evolving sport, there's always been an element of chance or an element of danger or an element of inexperience. One of the biggest problems of multi-hulls in the open seas is the experience, or rather the inexperience, of the crew.
We also came to Sydney to build this yacht because Sydney was a centre of multi-hull thinking in this part of the world anyway, and we were able to make phone calls to fellow designers and fellow boat owners who just lived sort of down the road, and we could examine their boats. We could even watch films of their boats sailing. We could draw many conclusions from their their assessment of our own design, of our drawings. We're in sight of Sydney Harbour Bridge. How close to the centre can you get? Question we get asked a lot by visitors to the yard where we're building the boat is how are you going to get this thing into the water, because it's 17 feet wide and 40 feet long and looks absolutely immense. The secret is that the boat only weighs 3 tons to start with, so the sort of equipment required to lift this bodily off the ground is available. Any crane will do it. Sling arrangement underneath the main beams onto a low-loading trailer, taking it down the road and doing likewise at the other end, lifting it off the trailer and lowering it into the water.
Other big factors in the design of this boat came about by going in the open sea on big cats off Waikiki Beach. Some of the 30 to 45-foot cats built 15, 17 years ago by Woody Brown were subject to some of the worst conditions in the Pacific, and we found sailing on these big cats in Hawaii with the bridge deck, which is the space between the hulls, was subject to a lot of pounding and slamming because there was not enough clearance. As a result, the design exhibits this tendency for a very high, even an extreme bridge deck clearance. This also means that you have to cut down on the headroom in the cabin, because you have to keep the cabin height down to reduce windage. This generation, a generation that is now building and sailing multi-hulls around the world, will be the first to have grown up in that sport, and probably will be the first to have the alertness and efficiency that's required to sail a multi-hull safely. Many people are just not willing to have to learn a completely new attitude for sailing these type of yachts.
We plan to sail this boat as we would race it. The boat will be virtually stripped down. We will not load it with the domestic sort of rubbish that a lot of people take along for comfort. To overload the boat is, of course, to slow it down drastically. This type of boat does not carry a payload very well. Anticipate lifting it out of the water again, shaping it up, and then perhaps have the official launching then, the big ceremony, the christening, if we've thought of a name for it by then, and then we'll have a big showdown and put it into the water for the last time. Worked out and computed a lot of stability factors. Here, I'm afraid I'm a little skeptical of the facts and figures. This sort of thing cannot be really accurately computed and tabulated, not for practical purposes anyway. It's quite dead while it's on the land, and it's not until it's bobbing in the water that we will feel any life in the boat and come to any agreement with the way it wants to sail. I believe it will take almost 18 months, probably longer, to tune this boat to any degree of high efficiency. decision as to whether to go into a catamaran-type yacht with 2 hulls or the trimaran has never arisen, because for me it has always been catamaran right from the start. Although I'm a great admirer of the natural world, and one of the greatest ways to gain access to the natural world in view of the devastation that's taking place ashore is to approach it from the water. It's not productive, but at the same time it's very conducive to sanity. What I feel I need for a way of life is a media to work in, my work being an artist, my intention being to travel. It's something that is essentially moving, elusive, something that I can change in quest of alternatives to a way of life, to a civilization even, and certainly to my friends and enemies. What a way to get away.